Hey guys. We are continuing with your Unit 3 Essential Knowledge. We're actually going to wrap up population today. So today's lesson is going to be the last review day for Unit 3, and then we might get into a little bit of Unit 4 next week. Your spring break is coming up next week. You are still supposed to have a spring break to my knowledge. Tomorrow, Friday, is going to be just kind of a makeup day for this week, letting you guys get caught up a little bit, and then we'll do some more review next week, and then really over your spring break, I'm going to ask that you guys just keep watching those YouTube videos on the College Board YouTube site, so keep reviewing for your test, for your AP test, but in terms of me posting up reviews, it probably won't happen over spring break, but definitely do take some time just to review going into your AP exam. But let's go ahead and get started with our last little bit of review for Unit 3. So we're going to go over human population dynamics today. So we did the population pyramids yesterday. Today is about demographic transition. So remember that birth rates, infant mortality rates, and overall death rates, access to family planning, access to good nutrition, access to education, and postponement of marriage all affect whether a human population is growing or declining, which makes sense, right? Because we know that when women are educated, when they wait longer to get married and wait longer to have children, they have less children. So what we see typically in developed countries, they have slow or stable populations, whereas in developing nations where there's not as much access to healthcare and there's not as much access to birth control, there's a lot higher birth rates, and so therefore a rapidly growing population. Factors that limit global human population include the carrying capacity of the earth. And remember, we are part of our environment, so we do have resources that limit our carrying capacity. Now, we as humans have been able to raise our carrying capacity by lowering the carrying capacity of other organisms, so we do need to keep that in mind. And then basic factors that limit human population growth are set forth by a Malthusian theory. The Malthusian theory is just that populations grow exponentially. So if they have access to resources, human population will just continue to increase. But it also states that there are preventative checks and also positive checks that kind of keep population in place. Preventative checks would be things that humans take to prevent an overpopulation growth. So things like one-child laws or two-child laws, or women taking control of their health care and waiting longer to have kids and having higher access to education. Those are preventative checks, things to prevent population from growing out of hand. Positive checks are things that we don't really have much control over, so think of like hurricanes or famine and war, things like that. Well, maybe not war. We do have kind of control over war. But in terms of like natural disasters and sometimes limited resources that we really can't predict, those are positive checks that will also keep human population in checks. One thing that's going on right now, coronavirus, COVID-19, that's a positive check. It is, causing a reduction in human population because it is causing an increase in the number of deaths. Population growth can be affected by density-independent factors. So remember, if it's density-independent, it doesn't matter how many individuals are in a population. So those are storms, fires, heat waves, droughts. Those things will affect a population of animals, whether there's 2 individuals or 2,000. Density-dependent factors do depend on how many individuals you have in a population. So things like that include access to clean water and air, food availability, disease transmission, or territory size. So again, this is a really good example just going on in the world today. Disease transmission, the COVID-19 coronavirus, it spreads a lot quicker if there are more people in, a given space and time. So that's the reason you guys aren't in school right now. It's the reason that all non-essential businesses are closed, because the further we are away from each other, the more we distance ourselves, the less that disease will spread. Remember, your rule of 70 states that dividing the number 70 by the percentage population growth rate will approximate the population's doubling time. So how long will it take a country's population to double? And when you're doing that calculation, you do not have to change the percentage to a decimal. You leave it in its percent form, so it's whole form. So if the percentage population growth rate was 35%, you would just take 70 divided by 35, which gives you 2, meaning that it would take 2 years for that country's population to double. We're also going to just review demographic transition really quick. So demographic transition is the transition from high to lower birth and death rates in a country or region as development occurs, and as that country moves from pre-industrial to an industrialized economic system. So we call this the demographic transition model. Typically there's 4 stages. There's a 5th stage technically, but we don't really go over the 5th stage so much. So we're going to focus on the first 4 stages. And then the characteristics of developing countries include higher infant mortality rates and more children in the workforce than developed countries. Okay, so really quick, we're just going to take a look at these 4, technically 5 stages, but we're going to focus on the first 4. So in stage 1, this would be pre-industrial. So on the top in the blue, we've got our birth and our death rates, and then our orange yellow line in our axes right here, this is going to be our total population. So here's stage 1. Our birth rates are high, our death rates are also high, and then it's a stable or a slow increase of your population. So there's a lot of people being born, but there's also a lot of people dying. So this would definitely be pre-industrial. And then if we look, our pyramid, our population pyramid for stage 1 would be a definite classic pyramid shape. Stage 2, we've got high birth rates, so a lot of people are still being born, but then our death rate is starting to fall dramatically. And this is because we're moving into more of a developing country where we're having better access to healthcare, maybe more access to education. And then we have a very rapid increase in our population, okay? Because the death rates are falling so quickly, our total population is also increasing quickly. Stage 3, we've got falling birth rates, all right? And then our death rates are falling more slowly. So our death rates are kind of evening out, and then our birth rates are falling again because women are having more access to education, better health care, better family planning. And then our population is still increasing here, but it's increasing at a slower rate. And then when we get into stage 4, you've got low birth rates. So here's our birth rate and here's our death rate. We've got low birth and death rates. And then our natural increase, it first falls and then it becomes stable. So these are stable populations. United States would be in stage 4 of a demographic transition. And then stage 5, this is kind of like almost like a theoretical stage, because we really talk about the demographic transition in 4 stages. But in stage 5, we've got rising birth rates, low death rates, and then a stable or a slow increase. But what I really want you guys to focus on is stages 1 through 4. Okay? So that is our review of population. So again, just make sure you guys are doing your practice FRQs, submitting your assignments. This week has been our first virtual learning week. So what I'm going to do, today's Thursday, the 2nd. So tomorrow, the 3rd of April, is just going to be a catch-up day for you guys. So if you missed anything of the week, go ahead and take the day, get it done. If you have any questions, let me know. And also just make sure you're still watching those review videos on the College Board YouTube channel. And then we will pick it up again next week with starting to review some of the concepts in Unit 4. And then we'll go from there. So you guys have a good day. And if you have any questions, let me know.